Good morning.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
When I was talking to a friend of mine, that when she asked me a question, I went to her right eye, and I didn't do it consciously. I was like, oh, I just did it. So I thought that was pretty cool. It's like,
Nice.
Oh, that's really awesome. It is just an automatic thing. It isn't a mindful piece.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah. I mean, we're training our body, and our body will adopt anything that works that helps its survival. And so it just adopts this. And it's like if I suddenly feel like I'm not understanding somebody, I automatically focus on their right eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to think about it. Yeah.
I think that's great. Yeah.
Yay.
I had noticed that drain in the past, though. There were certain things that would totally drain me, and I wouldn't really know why. But I think after the Your Body Never Lies workshop, that started diminishing considerably. I'm not sure why, but there must have been some type of habit that I dropped from that. Or it was just leaving my body and not holding me down. I don't know. I'm not really sure.
It may not have been personal to you. It could have been more generic. The fact of the matter is when we feel in some way that we're not enough, we end up automatically putting a lot of energy into overcoming it, or to prove that it's not true, or to, and
that's it.
If you realize that thought about not enough isn't real or isn't true, then there's no need to expend energy on it. And then all that energy you've got for better things.
Right.
Yeah. So it could be generic, and that's if the course achieves that, it is successful. That's the huge thing. So today, I just want to talk about power.
Okay.
About real power, because the high potential sense of power is how far can my effects go? So if I tell you something and you repeat it to somebody else and they repeat it to somebody else, right? There's a gossip power there. I can say, oh, this thread I started lasted through 5 iterations, through 5 people.
Yeah.
Or in a bigger view of history, you might take the view of how many generations is this going to impact? But those are all examinations of power outside or power away. And this perspective in EnergyWorks, and it's not that one is right or one is wrong, I just want to offer this other perspective, which may be helpful sometimes. And that's that power comes or exists when energy comes to us. Though real power is in a willingness to be changed, or a willingness to hear new information. High potential power is perceived as an ability to keep out information or to impose our information on others. The problem with that kind of power is that it always falls flat over time. If I strong arm you into agreeing to show up tomorrow at 6 o'clock, and I don't let you go until you agree you're going to show up at 6 o'clock, right? There's a power there. I'm forcing you to do something. Fact of the matter is, you probably won't show up at 6 o'clock. You're going to be like, wow, this guy's crazy. I'm not going to show up. I don't want to hang out with him anymore. Or if you do show up, you won't really be present. You'll be so worried about why you're there that you won't be experiencing actually being there. So there's a sabotage inherent in that kind of power. But the power, the willingness to be changed, the willingness to hear new information, from this perspective, that's where real power is. Because when we hear new information, then we have more information. We can make better choices.
Yeah.
Power, strength, is really about making correct choices. And the more information we have, the better choices we make. And that is a grounded power. So if I say to you, can you meet me tomorrow at 6 o'clock? And you say, no, I can't make it till 7. If I'm in my power, I'll say, oh, good, then I'll see you at 7.
Right.
Right? And now I'm getting what I want by changing, as opposed to getting what I want by changing you.
Yeah.
And this power has flow. You're not going to resist. You're like, oh, Brian said he'll meet me at 7. Great, I'll be there. Right? And then when you show up, you're actually present. You're not worried about what's going to happen. It's just a free flow experience. So this chapter is I just want to read some different examples of this so that we can discuss them. So today is a discussion class.
Okay.
Repetition either drives you crazy or soothes your heart. When in high potential mode, we might forcefully acknowledge its source to get the repetition to stop. If someone's telling you, come here, come here, come here, come here, I'm like, shut up. Like, okay, I'll show up. But in low potential mode, when we hear the repetition, we might notice minor changes in it. So at first, you hear the anxiety in someone's voice, and then you hear them get mad, and then you hear them start to get bored, until eventually they hit whatever emotional tone they need to hit to get our attention. So if we're in low potential mode and we're listening to somebody's repetition, come here, come here, come here, come here, instead of being annoyed by it, we're going to hear it differently each time. So the first time we hear it, we think, oh, they want me. Is it me they want? Like we're actually taking it in and trying to figure out what's going on. And then the message hits, oh, that person wants me to come over to them. In high potential mode, there's this contentious back and forth of like, well, why do you want me over there? Well, you come here. There's the little bit of a battle going on. And again, what I'm proposing here is that real power is in being able to change. Real power is in being able to listen. Mm-hmm. Here's the next one. Reactions in high potential, while dramatic, are not as impactful as responses in low potential. This is simple physics. In high mode, energy is going out and information is not getting in. The reaction may not be in response to reality, therefore.
Say that last one again.
The reaction may not be in response to reality. If I say, hey, come here, and you're in high potential mode and that triggers you somehow, you won't even hear that it's me asking you to come over here. You might hear your dad all mad getting ready to spank your butt, or you might hear an old teacher all frustrated with you.
Right.
And so your reaction is really based on your history and not based on what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And there's a reason it's called drama. It's because it's a script that's being replayed based on an old unresolved trauma. That's what high potential is about. In low potential, we're noticing what's actually going on and then responding. It's different. Responding is a lot different than reacting. Let me finish this thought here. It says, the reaction may not be in response to reality, therefore. It's called drama for a reason after all. When we are playing out patterns to deal with stress, we are literally acting out a part in a scene written long ago. In low potential, however, reality gets in, and if we respond with our abilities, our behavior will actually impact, shift, or change the previously current situation. So, if you see a child on a bicycle and it looks like they're going to go into the street and get hit by a car, in low potential, you just jump in the way. You stop the child. You don't even think about it. Like you just take care of it. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, wow, that was exciting. That could have really been crazy.
Yeah.
But in high potential, we yell at the kid, don't go in the street. We're not actually acting. We're just sort of barking orders. And the child may or may not be safe from that.
Yeah.
But in low potential, remember we talked before about how taking action is a low potential activity. In low potential, you just respond. You respond with your abilities, which means you are responsible for your environment, or responsible for what's actually going on, and interacting with it and changing it. You can do that in low potential because you're actually seeing what's going on. When we're in high potential, we imagine what's going on.
Yeah.
Someone says, "Hey, come here," and if we're in high potential and their voice sounds like our old boss who fired us for no reason years ago, then when we hear that voice, we're gonna cringe. Why do you want me? What, am I gonna get fired again? There's a response not to what's happening right now, but to what happened in our past.
Right.
And that is not powerful. Anything we do to change the world around us falls flat because we're not interacting with the world around us. We're interacting with our history. And the people observing it go, "What's he talking about? What's he doing? That makes no sense." But in high potential, we're in our own reality bubble. To some degree.
Yeah.
So in low potential, however, reality gets in, and if we respond with our abilities, our behavior will actually impact, shift, or change the previously current situation. Be here now, staying in present time, and going with the flow all point to this state of being. And I believe that I made an example before about the fires. So when there are forest fires here, and this is just a fictional example. The fires are real, the example's fictional. In high potential, if we've been told that the way to safety is down this particular road, and we're in high potential and panicking, and that's the only information we have, then we're going to take that road. And it doesn't matter if there are trees on fire falling over it, because that's what we believe. In low potential, even if we have that same information, we're also taking in other information. So in low potential, we might notice, well, wait, there's no fire over there. The fire's over here now. I should go that way. And make a choice based on reality right here, right now, as opposed to reality as it was. Low potential is about responding to reality as it is. And that's why it's more powerful. It isn't necessarily more causative. In the long run, I believe it is, but in the short run, going back to the eye exercise, if you need to get to work, right, then you should be in high potential and you should use your eyes and get people out of the way and just get there, right? And the people in low potential get out of your way, the seas part, and you get where you need to go. That is being causative, right? You are causing those people to get out of your way. That doesn't mean that you've got more power. It doesn't. What if one of those people stood up to you or went right eye to right eye and said, "No, I'm not getting out of your way." Then you're going to run into them. And that's not power. That's just ignorance, right?
Yeah.
In real power, someone's in your way, you just walk around them and continue on with your day. You don't have to be impacted.
Right.
Okay. So
I like that idea better.
These little vignettes are just to show you the perspective that EnergyWorks is working towards. It's not one that has to be adopted all the time. I'm just looking to balance out the perception of power, that power is in high potential. Causativeness is high potential. It's not always true. One definition of the phrase staying in present time is simply, or means simply embracing change. When we avoid, deny, push away, ignore, or otherwise not acknowledge new information and its impact upon us, a part of us gets stuck in the moment just before. So,
that's interesting.
If we are refusing to change, if we believe that, if we're in junior high school and we believe that all the boys with glasses like us, and then somebody tells us, well, that boy doesn't like you, he's got glasses, that's going to change the feeling we have about being in the environment. Like there's a feeling in our body like, oh, all these people like me. Like there's a feeling of elation. And then someone tells you, well, that person doesn't like you. That's going to shift the energy of the room for us. Right? Because now suddenly our belief has been, the rug's been pulled out from under our little fantasy.
Yeah.
In low potential, if we take that in, we can be happy that all these other people do like us. Like, oh, he doesn't like me? Okay, well, I've got other friends over here. It doesn't matter. Like, you just go with the flow. But in high potential, you may not want to feel, what do you mean somebody doesn't like me? And so we'll try to maintain the feeling we had just before we got that information. And that's a fantasy that we are all guilty of living in sometimes. We try to pretend like things are still the way they used to be. But that's giving our power away.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any comment?
Not really, no. Okay. Just taking it in.
Okay. There's a little bit more here on this one. So when we ignore that information, the new information, and its impact upon us, a part of us gets stuck in the moment just before, and we lose capacity to notice real, right now information, which is a kind of numbness. So when we pull back from information we don't want to hear, we literally go numb, because it's not possible to pull away just from one piece of information. When we pull back from everything. And now, instead of being in our present time environment, now we're in our personal little fantasy world reality.
Yeah, I would imagine that happens to me a lot when I'm looking for an answer to something I'm not certain of.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with going into low potential. There's nothing wrong with pulling back from information you're not ready for. I mean, life is about reaching and withdrawing, and things reaching to us and then pulling away from us. So there's an ebb and flow there that's totally okay. There's nothing wrong with putting your hand up being like, whoa, I don't want to hear that information yet. Let me think about it. Let me feel this out. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
But being aware of energetically what's going on when we do that can make it more temporary. So if we consciously pull back, right, go within, and then look at the information within, feel safe, and then open up again and let the information in. But that's an ebb and flow, and that's high-low potential balancing out. I mean, if information's easy and it doesn't matter, if I tell you, I had granola for breakfast, like, it's not impacting you. You don't care. You can let that information in, right? I mean, it just doesn't matter. But I might give you
real... It's not going to affect you too much.
Right. But if I had some information that might impact you tremendously, right? And when I give you that information, I just can't expect you to automatically accept it and go, oh, okay. Right? Oh, my car's on fire outside? Okay, I gotta go back to eating lunch. Right? I mean, you've gotta, what? My car's on fire? You've got to go within and then process really quickly, like, what do I do next? What happens with this? And then, once you feel safe, then you come back out and let the information in and go handle it.
Yeah.
That is real power. That's different than when information comes to us we don't want, just going into denial. I mean, some people believe that their power is based on how well they're able to deny what they don't want. And that's a shrinking. They get smaller and smaller, and it's harder and harder to talk to them, and pretty soon, you ask them what they want for lunch, and they look at their watch, and they tell you, oh, it's noon. It's like they don't even hear what we say.
And you're thinking, cuckoo.
Exactly. The thing is, like, that person's not crazy.
No.
They've mishandled or didn't have the training on how to deal with this back and forth energy with the world.
Right.
No one sits us down and says, sometimes you put energy out and sometimes energy comes to you. There's just this training doesn't exist yet for most people.
Yeah.
The true nature of real power lies not in an ability to create change in others, but rather in our ability to stay comfortable while being changed, or in changing ourselves. And
or what?
In changing ourselves.
Okay.
You don't have to be changed by an outside force. You can make your own choices.
Yeah.
And here's my perception is that if I'm in low potential and other people see how I am,
and people see how you are, is that what you said?
If I, I've got my own set of beliefs about how the way the world should be. I've got my own.
It used to be like this.
I've got my own idea of what's right and wrong. I've got my own idea of like what I like and what I don't like. I'm just like anybody else.
Yeah.
And the difference is that in my past, before I understood this information, if I wanted to convince you that my favorite band should be your favorite band, I would hit you with all right. It would never happen. But I would like hold you hostage and hit you with every reason I could think of to try to get you to agree that my favorite band.
People like that, it's terrible.
I know, it's awful, and everybody hates being held hostage like that.
It's terrible, yeah.
But that is how most people perceive power. If I can get you to change your mind, then I've affected you, and that is like an acknowledgement of my power. It's just that it never works. It never, ever works. The only way to really change you in this way, if I wanted to, would be for you to see how much I enjoy my music. But that's
and you must like it too, then. Right?
Well, if I'm really enjoying...
That's a convincing factor.
The thing is, if you see me really enjoying my music, that might pique your interest and go, oh, what's he listening to? And now you might take an interest in the band, right? And now your interest is genuine, as opposed to just having an interest because I imposed it on you, right?
I think it just makes me happy that you're happy. Like, I don't think that it influences me.
But that's
where I'm wondering where I fall into this, because, like, I think I'm influential. Like, you're able to influence me, but not to the point where it goes against what I prefer or not.
Okay,
So,
well, but what you said was perfect. You are totally willing to enjoy that I am enjoying my music.
I love that, yeah. That would be what made me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is my low potential power. Before you saw me enjoying my music, you were all thinking about something else, right? You just didn't. That was an effect that I created in you by simply enjoying my music in your presence, and now you see that I enjoy my music.
Yeah.
That is more interest in me than I could have gotten had I held you hostage and told you how great that band is.
Right, yeah.
Right? Because then you're like, I don't want to hear this band. I don't want to talk to this guy anymore. And there's no interest at all.
It ruins it.
It does. It ruins it. And that's why high potential power doesn't work. And it's true on all levels. War is the ultimate high potential interaction.
Absolutely.
And what happens? Nobody wins when it's high potential versus high potential. Because when it's over, now there's the destruction to take care of.
Yeah.
If I get in an argument with a friend or a family member and it's like, nah, and then the argument's over, but guess what? In the last video, remember I talked about how the love never goes away. It's the underlying current. And then high potential comes in and we pop out of that current and we have to deal with some stress or whatever else. But when that stress is over, we fall back into the current. And if during that stress we said things or did things that might be difficult to forgive, then when we fall back in that current, maybe we don't feel as close to that person anymore as we used to. And that's when we get high potential, and when we fall back down, we don't actually feel that love down there because we're so busy trying to prevent effects, or because we impinge so much on somebody else that we feel guilty, or we judge them, or we judge what happened. And then feeling that current is basically impossible.
Yeah.
But in low potential, if there's an issue or an argument and we're willing to go into low potential and really listen, then when we fall back down into that current, we're just back down in the current. We're just back down in the loving space. And you've had experiences of this with your friends. You have a best friend who you always get along with, and then there's a little point of contention, something rubbed you wrong. And so you talk about it for a minute, and then it's gone, and now you're back into your easy, communicating, loving space. But if in that little contentious minute, if you both stay in high potential, it can go off the rails. Then maybe you won't be friends anymore. You know, if it rises and rises and rises too high.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely happened.
Yeah, and we've all experienced that, and that's how you tell your friends from your acquaintances. Is that your friends will stick through to go through that cycle of stress and then back down into the love, and our acquaintances, we get into stress and then they just leave. You know, they don't trust that they're going to be falling back into that harmonious space with us.
Yeah.
So low potential is about trusting that you're going to fall back into that loving, harmonious space.
Yeah.
You know, if you can trust that when it's over, you're going to be falling back into the harmonious, loving space, then it's easy to sit through anything. It's easy to listen to your friend vent. You know?
Yeah, I think I managed to do that pretty naturally, and maybe that's maybe this has been helpful to that. Like, I had an issue with someone in the building, and then, you know, I saw them outside the one day, and I was like, oh, hi, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that helped, because then, like, she knew I wasn't mad at her or anything, you know, because I had that inflection in my voice.
Right.
That was, like, pleased to see her, and I was just surprised that she was there, right? Like, I just think that's cool.
Well, if people feel disconnected and there's a bit of a competition going on, then they're not going to let us win. If they feel the competition, then they feel like they don't want to lose whatever it is they think they're going to lose. You know, their sense of self or whatever's going on. But if they feel the love, they'll give you anything you want, because there's no competition. They recognize, this is just, for our relationship, it's better if I let this go. And they don't feel any loss. It's that old phrase, you know, kill them with kindness. You got somebody mad at you, just be so nice that they can't be mad anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, it works in varying degrees and varying situations.
Yeah, I think it depends on if there's an issue that has to be addressed. If it doesn't ever get addressed and it's like an important thing, you know. Like, don't remember the example you gave, like, you're standing on my foot, and, you know, and I have to repeat, you're really standing on my foot still. Like, you gotta get off my foot.
Right.
Right, like, it depends on what it is.
Yeah. And, you know, in high potential, the person standing on our foot would say something like, why are you accusing me of standing on your foot?
Right.
You know?
That's a problem, yeah. Get the sun out from behind me like that.
So,
That's better.
let me get on to the next one.
Yeah, go ahead.
In high potential mode, our choices become limited as new incoming information gets shut down. If we're in high potential, we're not hearing what's coming to us, so we don't hear new information. In low potential mode, our range of choices increases as we notice more information and attend to the matters at hand. And that's what I mean by power, is that in low potential, our interactions actually impact the world around us because we are tuned into the world around us. In high potential mode, we're tuned into our imagination about the world around us. And it may or may not match. Sometimes it does. Usually it doesn't. But our interactions do not impact the world as well because we're not tuned into the world. We're tuned into our imagination about the world. And that's just like the problem, like, hey, you're stepping on my foot. And in the person in high potential, they don't know they're stepping on your foot. And so they assume that you're wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm not stepping on your foot. Like, they don't even bother.
I don't feel your foot.
And they don't, and in high potential, we don't look for new information. They didn't look down to see if they were stepping on your foot. They just automatically, you're wrong. Automatically, I can't be doing that. But that's not, you know, if we're stuck in high potential, we might think that that person's in power, or that person is more causative because they're able to stand up to us and say, no, I'm not stepping on your foot. But really, they're just being a clown. They're not. Their perception of reality has nothing to do with anything except their own history.
Yeah.
So there's no power in that. I always
find that sad when that happens. That's
it is
so unnecessary.
It is. People are in high potential because when they go into low potential, all they feel is that they're not enough.
Yeah.
And so we go into high potential to not feel that. And now high potential is the way we respond to the world. You know, this work is about discovering that the not enough, the feeling of not enough, while the feeling is real, it's based on a lie. And once we discover what the lie is, then the feeling goes away. Once that feeling goes away, it's a lot easier to let ourselves be in low potential. It's a lot easier to allow ourselves to see what's really going on. If someone says, you're stepping on my foot, we don't take it as an attack. Because if I'm in high potential, feeling not enough, and you tell me that I'm stepping on your foot, or whatever it is, what I hear is, Brian, you are not enough because you're doing something I don't like.
Yeah.
And my immediate response is, what do you mean I'm not enough? I am enough. I'll prove it to you. I'm not doing that thing you're accusing me of. But it's just an argument. It has no bearing in reality. Because in high potential, we don't even bother looking to see, am I doing this thing that Sharon's complaining about? Scratch my head. Like that, the idea of looking within to look for the truth does not occur to us. And it doesn't occur to us because what's within cannot possibly be enough. The only way to really get over not enough permanently is to train ourselves. You can't just tap somebody on the forehead and say, your birth trauma is gone. And if you could, great, you're an amazing guru, you know, whatever. But but that sort of initiation or that sort of spark, and I'm not totally against it. I mean, I've met amazing beings that do have Shaktipat and who can do amazing things with energy that way. But it takes power away. I wouldn't go up to somebody who was stuck in their funk and then just take it away, take it in a bag and run away, and so now they no longer have their funk. I've totally taken their power away. Now to them, I'm some sort of magical being. And to them, it wasn't them that did it. They have no understanding. And when we don't have an understanding, we look for what we did understand. And I've seen it before because I used to put myself out as a healer. And this is 20 years ago, but I used to put myself out as a healer, and I used to work on this specifically with people. And inevitably, every single time what happened is, 1, I became magical, and 2, they didn't understand what happened, and 3, they put energy into refinding what I had helped them let go of. So people, they feel good enough, they feel great for a week or two, but then ego doesn't understand what happened, and so it starts looking for ways to recreate what's familiar, which is the feeling of not enough. I had a healing 30 years ago that only took about 20 minutes, and when I left the session, I could see without glasses. I literally put the glasses in my pocket and I could see perfectly. I could see everything better than I ever had. It healed my eyes. Like, that's impossible. I literally healed my eyes. But the next day, I couldn't remember what it was I had let go of. I couldn't remember what it was we had talked about. I couldn't remember what had happened. And that's because the healer did not involve me in the process. You know, they treated me like a bystander in what was going on. I woke up 24 hours later, my eyes were back to how they are today. Nearsighted. You know, if I take these off, I mean, I can see everything in the room, but it's all, anything more than 3 or 4 feet away starts getting blurry.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it was like for me at, I was 20 years old or 22 years old, to suddenly have this miracle healing where I could see. You know, I was in a daze. I was blown away for 24 hours. And then I woke up the next day or day and a half later and I had to put my glasses back on. I had no idea what happened. And that's because that healer did that session in a way that took my power away. He left me out of the process. I did not, you know, if I had been involved in the process more, I would have understood it. I've understood what I let go of, and it would have been permanent. But because I didn't understand or know what I had let go of, all I had was this brand new, unfamiliar experience of life. My ego went and recreated the thing that I had let go of. And it all happened in the background. I don't know the details, but I know that's how it happened.
Huh.
And I know that healing disappeared because I was not grounded in the process. I had no idea what happened. You know, I paid my money, had my session, my eyes were better, boom. And it was all just a talking thing. This was not an initiation or drugs or anything else.
Right.
This is just somebody looking me in the eye and talking to me and getting me to follow them down a particular line of reasoning, which I just don't remember what it was. But it healed my eyes. But that's what I mean by keeping people in their power, because when people stay in their power as they're being healed, then the healing sticks. That healer who healed my eyes, he was in high potential and I was in low potential receiving. And when it was over, I had no idea what I had received. But if the healer's in low potential, if he had been in low potential and I had been in high potential, I would have understood what was leaving me. I would have, you know, I would have been much more engaged with what was going on and understood what was going on, because it was energy out. When something leaves us, it's energy out. It's high potential.
Okay.
So that healer who fixed my eyes for a day, their perception of themselves is that they were the expert and that I was the client coming to them and they were patting me on the head. Yeah, I'll heal you. I'll fix you. And that was the mistake. If I had shown up and that person had shook my hand and told me, you're the expert, I'm going to help you let this go, and then let me be the expert and walk me through it, it might not have taken 20 minutes, it might have taken an hour, but I would have remained grounded and in my understanding, and I believe that today I would not be wearing glasses. I believe it would have stayed the rest of my life. So that's an example of what I mean by high potential might be more causative, but it isn't more powerful than low potential, because
right.
low potential effects last. High potential effects are rising and then they disappear.
Yeah, I get that really strongly, because ever since I've learned that, I've really been consciously left eye dominant and wanting to be in that low potential state, because I do believe it's more powerful, and it's helping me to learn to trust where I never could before. And that was just being high potential and stubborn, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the nature of being high potential, is that we're stubborn. I mean, that's just,
yeah.
that's, you know, stubbornness is on
that was just a fear that I would call stubborn, you know?
Yeah.
Because if it really affected me in a way that I was afraid, then I would be afraid to receive it.
Yeah, well, stubbornness is a fear of change.
Yeah.
And
of course, yeah, right.
Yeah. And you recognize now through EnergyWorks that being stubborn, it stops our power.
Yeah.
You know, power, strength, real power moves forward in time with us. But when we're stubborn, it gets stuck and stops. If you get stubborn, I don't want to hear this, your power just shut down. You're no longer changing, it's over. So, I believe that you're getting this. Okay, here's the next one. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. High potential always makes mistakes because it is never attending to the present. Low po, on the other hand, always feels what is happening and takes appropriate action.
Yeah.
And that's causativeness and power are two different things.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of it. To feel, you do kind of feel a little more in control because you can like duck and weave as
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
I like that. Like that feels so empowering and athletic instead of like stuck and stiff and clumsy.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So how do you feel about EnergyWorks now?
Oh, I love it. I've really enjoyed it. Did we get all the way through?
Yeah, we are through. Like,
wow!
That's it. You know?
That's awesome.
So, I mean, what you have is a foundation. And now you get to work with it, play with it, and I'm hoping that in a week or maybe 2 weeks, whatever feels good to you, that you call back in and do like a graduation follow-up. And share with me like how you've developed it in ways that we didn't talk about.
Okay.
Because we didn't talk about everything. And we're not supposed to. Like, a lot of this you're really only going to learn if you pursue and figure it out, play with it, see what happens. I will give you an example. Here's something you can try, and then you can give me a report on this at your follow-up. When a submarine wants to figure out, like what's approaching, it sends out a sound wave, right? Ping! And the sound wave travels, hits an object, and then bounces back. And what bounces back, when they have a computer and they can read the sound wave is distorted in such a way that it tells the submarine what they're looking at, tells them what they are pinging. So they, something shows up on radar and they ping it to get a detailed picture, and they find out, oh, it's a rock, or oh, it's another submarine, or oh, it's a big whale, right? That the ping, they send out information, high potential, doing. If you're watching an old movie, you hear the ding, right? And then the sound wave bounces back, and then they look at their screen and they can tell what it is. And you can do this too, but you do it with love. So you see somebody on the street, and you just love them really quick. So just unconditional, just notice how much you love being in their presence. And that's a wave. So you're sending out a love wave at them. And once it's sent out, you stop. You pull back, go from high potential immediately into low potential. And you wait for that love wave to come back to you. It's going to come back to you distorted, just like that submarine ping. It's going to come back and you're going to feel that person's anger, that person's boredom, or if they're loving, then you're going to feel the love amplified. You send out that ping, and what comes back is going to tell you a lot of information about that person. Their energy is going to impact that wave you sent out. When that wave comes back, it's going to be altered. But what you feel when that comes back pretty much tells you all you need to know about that person as far as how you're going to interact with them. And that's a great homework.
Okay.
Do you get how that works?
Yeah. I thought I was doing that with my cats. But then they would come and be petted,
Cats are different because they're tuned in. Cats just love good energy and they just show up like.
They do. They so appreciate my sending them little bits of love like that. They really do. I mean, sometimes they my boy cat starts purring right away. He's just a sweetie pie.
Nice. Well, do it with your cats, and I'm sure you already do these things, but do it consciously and notice. Love, high potential, and then pull back. Be in low potential and wait and notice what you feel coming back to you. So it's a really quick. I mean, this is also training you to be high-low potential really fast. It's also teaching you how to switch back and forth. But receive that information. Notice what you feel. And give me a report.